let's go for Osawa, who we haven't started his story yet either. No. But this is neat, right? I think it's neat. Wealth, status, honor. None of these mean anything to me. All I want is a peaceful life. To put worry behind me. That's what a villain sounds like. To stay calm and serene. To be free of worldly concerns. Free at any cost. Oh, there's the VOD mute again. A cheery rhythm bumped from the CD player set up against the study wall. It was the latest hit from Aya Kamiki, the songwriter's sensation was blowing up the pop charts. This is an actual person's song. Kenji Osawa reached for the stereo remote on his desktop. He ratcheted the volume up a little louder. Please no. He looked like the sort of man who'd been more interested in classical music, but in fact he was a huge fan of the girl rock popular with middle schoolers. Closing his eyes, he swayed back and forth in time with the music, humming his favorite lyrics under his breath. But his movements faltered. It's no use. His voice usually soothed whatever ailed him, but today, even she couldn't help. Today, Osawa was a complete wreck in both body and mind. Mounds of paperwork were scattered across the desktop of his study. Identify the infection route of UA virus. Oh no, like UA high?
Yeah.
Oh no! It's the My Hero Academia virus. All of it about viruses and vaccines. Topical. It had only been a week since he returned from a business trip to the company's branch office in the US, and he was slated to go back in another week's time. There was truly staggering amount of work he needed to get through while he was at home. He picked up one of the papers, glanced at it aimlessly, then tossed it back onto the desk. Slumping back in his chair, he let out a long, deep sigh. He was in no mental state to work right now. A faint knock at the door barely aroused him from his torpor. Director, may I come in? It was his vice director, Mamoru Tanaka. Sure, the door's open. Tanaka came into the study. I know it's not a great time, but Osawa could barely make out his words. Is this the other guy that was walking on the street? Well, you weren't here for that, but when I was the mascot, there was I was trying to give out the free samples. So there are two people on the street. One was the detective that I kept calling Nagito, and the other one kind of looked like this guy, but I don't know. And I had a choice to give one of them, try to give one of them the free sample, and I went with the detective. So he tapped the remote, lowering the volume of the music. Tanaka continued apologetically. A call came in from the lab. They're hoping for a response to the email he sent yesterday. I'm sure they don't need it today. Apparently they do need an answer as soon as possible, sir. I did ask them to give you some more time, but... I see, Osawa said wearily. Alright then. Tanaka dipped his head slightly and slipped out of the room. Osawa contemplated his colleague. Tanaka was a man he could truly depend on. He has enough of his own work to do. He didn't need to come here again today, but he did. They had been working in close concert ever since Osawa had gotten back to Japan. Without Tanaka's support, there was no way he could be in a mindset to do any work at all right now. Sidling up to his computer, Osawa had opened his email program and started answering the work-related messages. He reported on his business travel expenses, offered his opinions on capital investments, requested confirmation on current medical stockpiles. He worked with bleak detachment. None of this meant anything to him right now. And then a new email appeared in his inbox.
Congratulations, you got free money!
Yeah, free money! The sender was identified simply as A. The subject line read, 1 year ago, South Africa. Yes, man. The message body was blank, but there appeared to be multiple images attached. Ordinarily, Osawa would have deleted a message like this immediately, assuming it contained some kind of virus. But the word South Africa drew his attention. Could this possibly be related to... He couldn't help but wonder. For a long moment, he hovered the cursor over one of the image files. At last, as if spurred on by the upbeat rhythm in his ears, he double-clicked the mouse.
Is A like L and N from
Yes,
Death Note?
100%. Aw, sleeping people. What is this? The grainy photograph showed a large room with a dozen or so people laid out in beds. It appeared to be some sort of medical ward. Osawa felt a strange flutter in his chest. He quickly opened another image. Another sleeping person. This showed a close-up of one of the patients in his bed. Large red blotches covered his face. A large volume of blood appeared to be dripping from his ears and nostrils. A cold shudder ran up Osawa's spine. What the hell? These symptoms. Osawa opened up the remaining image files. Each new picture showed another of the patients. They all appeared to be teetering on the brink of death. There was no doubt about it. These people were infected with the UA virus. UA virus 1. The UA virus belongs to the family Filoviridae. Genus, I'm not going to read that, is a member of the same family as the Ebola virus and causes UA virus fulminant hemorrhagic fever. It is capable of airborne transmission, although an infected individual cannot pass on the infection before symptoms manifest. The U.S. Center for Disease Control Prevention, CDC, have assigned the virus to Risk Group 4, their classification for the most dangerous infectious agents. This is a bad time to be playing this game. But how? Questions tumbled through Osawa's mind. His fingers tapped out a quick message. He doubted he'd get a response, but he might as well try. Who are you? Where are these images from? South Africa, you fool. The UA virus, is this another one? Yeah. The virus is roughly 90 nanometers to 110 nanometers in diameter and 500 nanometers to 700 nanometers long. Because of its pronounced sickle-like shape, it is sometimes known as the sickle of death. It is possessed of a viral envelope, the surface of which is coated with spike-shaped protein protuberances. Nanometer is a billionth of a meter. The UA virus got its name from the Swahili word for flower, or it's Ua. Okay. Supposedly this was based on the fact that the propagated form of the virus resembled the petals of a flower. Despite the flowery name, however, the disease was anything but pretty. Ua didn't just mean flower, it also meant to kill. Just as the name suggested, the virus had a mortality rate of 100% in those who managed to infect. Because most details regarding the Ua virus had been suppressed, cases of the Ua infection were largely unknown to the world at large. Because all patients known to be infected with the virus on official record have died within a short time frame, the mortality rate is given as 100%. As the incidence of known cases grows, the number may drop below 100%, but the mortality rate will likely remain extraordinarily high. What does this have to do with the kidnapping? Moreover, there was a very short incubation period between the infection and the onset of symptoms. Inhaled viral particles can spread from the lungs to the lymph nodes and from there disperse throughout the body. The virus propagates in several places, including liver cells and macrophages, components of the immune system. It destroys the endothelial cells within blood vessels. Upon reaching the brain, it forms a neural sludge of blood mixed with other bodily fluids. Yikes. Within roughly 12 hours, bleeding would set in throughout the body, everywhere but the bones and muscles, with lethal results. Due to its incredibly high mortality rate, the disease's very existence has been kept hidden from public knowledge. Osawa's computer chimed to signify the arrival of a new email. The sender was A. He hurried to open the message. Fooled you. Once again, the subject line read, 1 year ago, South Africa. Your crimes. Osawa stared at those two words. My crimes? That left him only with further questions. He looked to get the images from the previous email. What makes any of this my crimes? He could see that the patient's bleeding was severe. He estimated that several hours had passed since the onset of the disease. It wouldn't be long before their lives were cut short. To feel that agony, that suffering, and then to perish. Am I to blame for that? Another faint knock came at the door. Darling, do you have a moment? It was his wife, Ai. Yes, come in, or give me a second. Osawa hurriedly closed the mail program. Should I let my wife come in and see the dead people? Dying people, or should I close the mail program? Sure. You know what? Come in. I stepped in to study the room filled with the scent of her perfume. This sounds like this is the good idea to do. Have you reconsidered the whole America thing, she asked. This again, Osawa thought suddenly to himself. Please, he said, can we not discuss this right now? If not now, then when? You know this isn't a decision just to make on your own. On his latest business trip, a major American pharmaceutical firm had attempted to headhunt him, asking him to join them and be among the top researchers in the world. The money and prestige held no interest for him, and he was reluctant to turn his back on Okoshi Pharmaceutical after his many years of service. The pharmaceutical company for which Kenji Osawa works is a major corporation with a solid sales network, both domestically and internationally, an annual turnover of 1 trillion yen. It holds patents for several medications that are in demand worldwide, and is influential at the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare, and other political institutions. The company employs roughly 7,000 people, including 600 researchers. Nonetheless, he was intrigued by the offer. It would mean the chance to conduct his virus research in a much better funded environment. Taking the job would necessitate relocating to the U.S., however. When he mentioned the possibility of emigrating to Ai, she'd shot the idea down on the spot. Her opposition was understandable. Ai's father, Suguro Makino, was a member of Okoshi Pharmaceutical's board of directors. No way he was going to let Osawa jump ship to another company. Darling, please. I drew in closer to him. Think about it from my perspective. If you leave for America, what am I supposed to tell my father? He'd gotten so used to it, that grating whine of hers. Have you considered what might happen to Okoshi if you leave, dear? We can discuss that once all this is finished. Osawa kept his voice as level as he could. You do remember that you're a director, right? I said. You have responsibilities. Stop thinking about yourself so much. With a sour look, I turned and departed. This poor man. Well, he had known that moving to America would never be a simple matter, regardless of what his wife thought about it. There was another reason, however, the antiviral agent that he had developed at Okoshi. A therapeutic drug used to treat viral infections. Examples include drugs that are used against influenza and HIV. These treatments do not eliminate the infection, rather they simply inhibit the development of the disease. There are still many issues with such drugs, including the risk that treated viruses possess or develop a resistance that may make the treatment ineffective. Academic institutions and pharmaceutical companies worldwide devote tremendous resources to further advancing the field of antiviral medicine. After all, the UA virus was discovered, infectious disease research facilities worldwide had thrown themselves into a top-secret effort to develop a vaccine. Vaccines function by safely introducing a harmless or attenuated version of the virus or other pathogen into the human body. This triggers the body to produce antibodies against the pathogen, making it difficult for the dangerous version to take hold. But Makino had ordered Osawa to work on creating an antiviral agent, not a vaccine. A vaccine immunized the subject in order to prevent infection in the first place. Conversely, an antiviral agent could be used to treat patients already infected. It was a so-called wonder drug for combating the virus itself. Creating such a drug was far easier said than done. Developing the antiviral had been a long, arduous road. Only after years of research had Osawa's team succeeded in identifying a substance that might qualify as an antiviral agent for the UA. In theory, if it was administered during the virus's initial stages, 100% recovery could be attained. Data also suggests an 80% survival rate for patients treated shortly after the onset of symptoms. But there was a fatal flaw with the new antiviral agent. The side effects on the body were usually potent. If it was administered in amounts beyond a certain threshold, it was linked to life-threatening complications. For a time, the research was at an impasse. It seemed that the drug had to be administered in high volume to combat the explosive propagation of the UA virus, but then Osawa had received some fortuitous news. Okoshi Pharmaceutical's nanotechnology branch had engineered a cutting-edge device known as the DDS, Dance Revolution. Technology created and or operated on an extremely small scale, often measured in nanometers. There are 1 billion nanometers in a meter. Some nanotech devices are literally regulated on the atomic level. The possibilities are ever-expanding in practical fields such as medicine and materials science, and the U.S. is among the world leaders in the push for research and development. Nanomachines, son. DDS, acronym for the Drug Delivery System. Such a system administers ultramicroscopic drugs capsules to a targeted area of the body. Because the DDS can be used to deliver a drug with a pinpoint precision only when it is needed, it can greatly reduce the side effects of even very potent drugs. The DDS developed by Koshi Pharmaceuticals utilizes advanced high-tech polymers, which ensure that the capsules containing the drugs are fully broken down and eliminated from the body roughly 1 week after administration. No. No. There we go. This is science. Look at this science. Wow. Procedure was a huge success. There's a marked increase in the drug's efficacy, along with the expected decrease in adverse side effects. Pharmaceutical is said to have a positive effect if its use brings about the desired results when treating a medical condition, but many drugs create unwanted or unforeseen adverse effects as well. Given the extreme complexity of most drugs' interactions with the human body, nearly any medicine can have both positive and negative effects. Don't I know it? The effects have been confirmed via animal testing on monkeys, and now the antiviral is ready for the final development stage clinical trials in humans. Experiments involving drugs or medical techniques test on animals to confirm safety before they're used. The 1964 Declaration of Helsinki, which lays out ethical standards for human experimentation, advocates responsible animal testing, but many animal rights advocates regard such testing as a form of animal cruelty. Clinical trials, when a new drug is being prepared for government approval after it has been tested on animals, must pass tests on humans that evaluate safety and suitability. Such tests are frequently conducted on both patients and healthy individuals. In Japan, the development of a new drug is often hindered by insufficient legal infrastructure for conducting clinical trials, resulting in a smaller knowledge base and fewer opportunities for testing. That's not good. But the very existence of this new wonder drug was still a secret. No doubt Okoshi's leadership would be reluctant to see Osawa, the drug's lead researcher, transferred to another company. Still, it wasn't completely outside the realm of possibility. Once the antiviral was out of development and announced to the public, Osawa would be free and clear. For that reason, he was loath to cause any friction over the drug right now. This anxiety only magnified his concern over the email he just received. Osawa called up Tanaka over the intercom. "There's something I want to show you. Could you come in here?" He needed a second opinion. Tanaka could be relied upon. Osawa opened the door. The moment Tanaka knocked, he looked around before ushering his vice director inside. "What's this about, sir?" "This." Osawa showed him one of the images. Tanaka's face went pale. "It can't be." Tanaka clearly recognized the symptoms of the Ua virus. "Any idea what this is about?" Osawa asked. "No, sir. These images weren't just emailed to me. The subject line says 1 year ago, South Africa. That would put it around the same time as the most recent run of infections, wouldn't it, sir?" "But that information isn't..." Tanaka trailed off. Osawa nodded. "The thing I don't understand is why these pictures were sent to me." Osawa opened the other email from A. "The second message I got says these pictures are my crimes." "I'll look into this on my end, sir," Tanaka said. He hesitated uncomfortably. "Sir, just to make sure, are you asking what I think you're asking about?" Osawa said. Tanaka gave a slight nod. "Understood," Osawa said. "Don't worry. I won't trouble you." "I appreciate that, sir." Visibly relieved, Tanaka left the study. Osawa brought up the folder marked Ua virus on the screen. Within the folder were enlarged images of the virus itself. He double-clicked one of the images that blew up on the monitor to reveal a pathogen in intricate detail. Looked similarly to the picture of his face. A specimen of the Ua virus was approximately 100 nanometers in diameter. 10,000 of them in line would take up barely a millimeter. But a single tiny virion upon entering the human body could be 2,000 in an hour. The speed of multiplication was nothing short of astonishing. Even the Ebola virus had a typical incubation period of 7 days or so before infectees developed symptoms. Ebola virus, virus of the family Filaridae that causes Ebola hemorrhagic fever. Currently, 5 characterized species are known: Typhorus, Sudan, Restanzaire, and Bundibugyo. Ebola is widely known for its high mortality rate, 53% for the Sudan form, 88% for the Zaire one, but the resistant variety, discovered in monkeys, that has been brought to the US has displayed no pathogenicity in humans. For influenza, it was 1 or 2, but the onset of the Ua virus happened in mere 12 hours. Osawa viewed an image slideshow of the virus's propagation mechanism. It was a fascinating sight, no matter how many times you looked at it. Viruses existed to multiply, nothing more. They had no motives, no driving logic, nothing but simple multiplication. To Osawa, the fact held a certain air of mystery. If viruses had emotions, how would they feel about their lives? He had thrown himself into virus research in search of answers to questions like that, answers that no man could truly know. His development of the antiviral agent had really been nothing more than another job responsibility. He felt no particular sense of duty to protect people from a killer virus. Wow. He was just happy for the chance to play around with the UA day after day. Alright. Another email arrived in his inbox. The sender, A. The subject line, 1 year ago, South Africa. Again. Osawa read the message. Do not look away. These are your crimes. This time, there are 4 images attached. Osawa proceeded to open each one of them in turn. The first shocked Osawa so much that he felt like he'd been punched in the head. One of the UA patients from the earlier images was being injected with something. No, Osawa muttered to himself. It can't be. The second image showed one of the infected, hunched over in pain, vomiting up blood. The symptoms had already manifested, but Osawa thought he could see that some degree of life had come back into the patient's eyes. He rushed to open the third image. It showed a morgue piled high with corpses. The rictus of anguish on the dead faces made them look no longer human. Various fluids seeped from the eyes and nostrils. The lymph nodes were grotesquely swollen. Small organs that function as part of the lymphatic system in mammals. When a foreign substance invades the body, lymph nodes detect it, prompting the production of white blood cells and lymphocytes and macrophages to consume the invader. Viral infection sometimes causes the lymph node to swell up as a result of increased activity. There were hospital beds stained with massive amounts of blood and gastric fluids. Next came the fourth and final image. More corpses. They had badges affixed to their chests with labels, various labels. 6 hours passed, 12 hours passed, and 18 hours passed. They looked as if someone had been attempting live trials with the antiviral agent. Osawa didn't consider the antiviral agent ready for release, but that was because his team hadn't conducted clinical trials on humans yet. And there was a good reason why such trials hadn't been conducted. There was no way to test the efficacy of the drug without an infected patient. To run a proper clinical test, someone would first need to be infected with the UA virus. No matter how effective animal testing had been, if the drug proved ineffective on humans, that person would have a guaranteed death sentence. It was unthinkable to run trials that involved such a deadly risk. Where's this going? And yet, as he looked over the images again and again, Osawa became certain, without his knowledge, someone, presumably someone from Okoshi Pharmaceutical, had conducted human testing with the antiviral agent. The time markers on the corpses in the fourth image were surely there to mark the time elapsed since the onset of symptoms. A thorough trial would test the drug's effectiveness in those time frames. Osawa slammed his fist on the desks and raged. This was nothing short of vile human experimentation in the guise of clinical testing. The people responsible could not be allowed to get away with this. There was only one person Osawa could trust to keep this under wraps, his boss, Makino. He reached for his phone to call Makino. But he stopped short as soon as he picked up the receiver. He knew he was in no state of mind to have a reasoned conversation right now. Turning to the CD player, he put on Aya Kamiki's latest album. Leaning back in his chair, he surrendered himself to the soothing tones. Bit by bit, he could feel himself returning to a calmer emotional state. There had been a time when Osawa hadn't listened to music at all. In fact, he had no interest in the arts in general, music, painting, cinema. It was only due to a simple coincidence that he had found Aya Kamiki. His daughter had asked for a CD as a birthday present, so he'd swung by the store to pick one up. Since Kamiki's new album had just come out, there was a display for it in front of the shop. Something about the bright, colorful album packaging had drawn him in. After a time, Osawa could feel himself growing calmer. He took a nice deep breath. Then he dialed up Makino, or he closed his eyes and tried to banish his nerves completely. Let's call him up. Took a nice deep breath and then dialed up Makino. Has there been any progress? Makino asked as soon as he picked up. His voice was somber. No, Osawa said, nothing much yet. A tiny sigh came in from the other end of the line. I see, then what can I do for you? Sir, I'll just get right to the point. Have you conducted clinical trials using the antiviral drug? Makino didn't respond right away. What makes you think that? He asked at last. Osawa described the emails he'd received. When he'd finished, Makino let out his breath in surprise. Not over the phone, he said. We'll discuss this in person. I'll head over to your place when I'm done here. As soon as possible, sir. As soon as I can manage, Makino said. You're not the only person who's busy. With that, Makino hung up. There was no doubt about it then. There had been human testing. Osawa went to let Tanaka know he'd been meeting with Makino. He'd be meeting with Makino. Hey, buddy. A stolid-looking man stood in the hallway, almost as if he'd been waiting for Osawa to emerge. Pardon me, Mr. Osawa, but could you come with me for a moment? Uh-oh. The detectives assembled in the living room all wore grave expressions. The room was brimming with tension, and Osawa felt it ramp up even further as he entered. What is it? He asked. Has something happened? And the man who had come to find him turned to speak, hesitating at first. Yes. It turns out that your other daughter, Hitomi, has been abducted. That's the connection! Has been abducted by an unknown party. Oh boy, he's the father! Abducted? Osawa's mind whirled. I was wondering how long it would take to get to that. What are you talking about? Maria's the one who's been abducted. No, sir, you don't understand. What a twist! I'm saying that Hitomi had also been abducted in addition to Maria. Don't be ridiculous! The night before, his daughter Maria gets kidnapped, and this morning his other daughter Hitomi gets carried off when she goes to deliver the ransom? He'd never heard anything more outrageous in his life. We're sorry, sir, a detective was with her, but the police went on to explain that Hitomi had somehow managed to end up all by herself, and while she was alone, several individuals had forced her into a car and driven off. Osawa could barely comprehend what they were saying. His mind was in a fog. That's spoilers for Achi's route. The detective's words seemed to grow quieter and quieter. Osawa's strength drained from his body. His ability to process external stimuli began to drift far, far away. It's not possible. It can't be. Could no one keep them safe? Not me. Not anyone. My girls, they told me. Maria, it's not true. This is all just a bad dream. Some kind of sick joke. It's not true, it's not just a bad dream, it's a lie, it's a twisted joke. Someone made this all to stop. I'm saying I don't want to hear it. Just tell me it's all a lie. This isn't true. Tell me now, please. This is just a nightmare. Please tell me this isn't true. It's not true. Just shut up. Slowly, the ceiling began to spin. Then Osawa's vision went to wash with white. And there's a bad ending there. The worst case scenario. Wait, so how do I stop that? Osawa had a complete mental breakdown when he learned that not one, but both his daughters were kidnapped. Surely there'd be someone who can keep Hitomi safe. She had been on the run with Achi, but just what are they up to? The key to changing her fate in her... Okay, so this is ruined because we didn't do Achi's scenario yet. That makes sense. We'll play a little bit more and then I'll end off the stream. Alright, so you're stuck. So we need to play Kano to unscrew up Minorukawa's thing, and we need to play Achi to unscrew up this. So let's go back to Kano, which seems to be a little bit more lighthearted to end off things. So last we left Kano, he's just in the middle of having completely screwed up everything. I missed that. As he wandered through the back alleys, Kano gritted his teeth. Going after the guy on the bike had been a bad judgment call. By the time he got back up on the pedestrian overpass, the man who'd excuse me. The man who had thrown the attaché case was almost out of his sight. Kano prided himself as being fleet of foot, but he knew even he would never catch the guy before he disappeared. He followed the culprit as far as the alleys, but he'd lost him completely. All he could do... Okay, for some reason autoplay is on. All he could do is now his hope was one of his colleagues caught the man on the motorcycle. Kuze's voice... Okay, what? Game. Okay, we're gonna stop. We're good. Kuze's voice crackled through the earpiece. Mobile command center calling all units. The suspect on the motorcycle has handed off the case to another accomplice in Miyashita Park. Another foreigner. For real? Kano muttered. One thing immediately struck him as strange. Why hand the case off to someone else at all? Why not just escape on the bike? The man with the motorcycle dumped the bike and fled on foot. We've retrieved the bike and run the plates. We've determined it was a stolen vehicle. What is a stolen vehicle? Persona? Yeah, I mean, this does take place in Shibuya, which is from Persona 5. Stolen vehicle. The advanced plates communication system is carefully maintained. By using the digital wireless systems in their patrol cars, our officers are able to directly access the station's computer network, allowing them to quickly check to see if an individual is on the wanted list or a vehicle is stolen. We still don't have enough detail to positively ID the suspect. The suspect now carrying the attaché case is heading through Dogonzaka, also on foot. We got him under observation. Dogonzaka, huh? That wasn't too far from where Kano was now. Looks like we're dealing with a foreign crime syndicate that's familiar with Shibuya. All units, head to Dogonzaka. But do not, I repeat, do not attempt to apprehend the suspect with the case. Let's see where he goes. Kano nodded to himself. Without knowing more about the crook's MO, letting this guy go for now was probably the only right call. I just want you all to know one last thing. Kuze's tone grew more solemn. Whatever happens, I know I can count on each and every one of you. Don't disappoint me. Over and out. Kano had the unsettling feeling that the message had been meant for him. Right, it's now or never. The sudden appearance of the syndicate and its bizarre actions were rapidly moving things beyond the jurisdiction of both the MPD and the local police. Mustering his resolve, Kano headed for Dogonzaka. Kano pulled his cell phone out of his pocket. It was Rumi calling. She knew full well he wasn't supposed to take private calls while he was working on a case. Maybe it was an emergency? He decided to pick it up. Rumi? I'm sorry, are you in the middle of something right now? Kind of. Is this an emergency? Well, yeah. So, I'm in Shibuya right now, and... Shibuya? Why'd she have to be in Shibuya now of all times? So, my father came down from Nagano all of a sudden. What? Rumi's father, Shizuo, had been staunchly opposed to the two of them getting married. Kano had visited his home many times, but the man had never even deigned to meet him. Yeah, he told me to tell you he wants to meet with you. Now. What? Now? That's a good face. Kano blurred the words out with more alarm than he had intended. I told him you were busy working, but he said he'd wait. This can't be happening, Kano whimpered to himself. I'm sorry, I know he can be demanding. That's not the issue. Her dad offering to wait made it harder for him to refuse. Alright, Kano said, but I'll have to call you back later, okay? I really am sorry. I'll be at the cafe called The Trek. It's by the train station. Rumi hung up. For a long moment, Kano stood in the daze staring at his phone, as if keeping up with the case wasn't stressful enough. At last, he stumbled into motion, but even as he scoured Dogonzaka for any sign of the criminal, his mind remained fixed on the meeting with Rumi's dad. There was no way of knowing when he'd be done with this casework today, but could he really pass up on a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to get her father's approval for his hand in marriage? Odds are that this will not be the only once-in-a-lifetime experience Detective Kano winds up having today. Alright, game, alright. Maybe he could slip away for just a bit? There are plenty of detectives still tailing the suspect. Taking 15 minutes or so to meet with Shizuo wouldn't be such a big deal, would it? This is my big chance. I should go meet with Rumi and Shizuo while I can. No, I got a job to focus on. Let's focus on the job. No, right now I got a job to focus on. Kano shook his head to clear out the foolish impulses. What the hell had he been thinking? A girl's life was on the line. Marrying Rumi was more important to him than anything, but now wasn't the time. Besides, now that he thought about it, running out on a critical investigation to meet with the old man probably wasn't going to score him any points. Rumi's dad didn't strike him as someone who approved of shirking one's responsibilities. Kano would just have to wrap up this kidnapping case a little ahead of schedule, then he could have a proper sit-down with Shizuo. As he considered his plan, he caught sight of a man with the attaché case walking by. Further up along Dogenzaka, in the direction the purpose headed, was where Yamate Dori joined Route 246.
It's Steve Jobs.
Maybe the guy was planning to meet up with the getaway car just because of the sweater,
And the
turtleneck.
haircut.
No, wait, hold on. He doesn't have the glasses. If that were the plan, why would the gang have ditched the motorcycle earlier? That doesn't.
Steve Jobs impersonator.
That doesn't look like the attaché case. It was lighter colored.
Yeah.
Kano started tailing the man, racking his brain all the while. The suspect turned down a narrow side road.
This guy's an idiot.
Yeah, he is. He wasn't heading towards the Yamatedori or Route 246 at all, but back towards Shibuya Station. What in the world was going on? I was starting to feel like the crooks were just messing with the investigation team. Kano radioed Kuze on the wireless. Police wireless system is digital. In order to make transitions more difficult to intercept, there are several channels available, including the basic local channel, a common channel for contacting other nearby patrol cars, channels assigned to specific precincts, action update channels for riot squads, and so on, but no Disney Channel. There's also separate channels specifically for kidnapping cases, not on the standard wavelengths.
Also no Pokemon channel.
No Pokemon Channel. Sir, I don't think there's any point in seeing where this guy leads us anymore. That's not your call to make. Keep watching him. Sir, this is a waste of time. That girl might be in danger if... Kano's argument was cut short as he saw the man hand off the attaché case to yet another foreigner. Again? How many times are these criminals going to pull this trick? Detectives broke into two groups to follow both of the men. Kano followed the man with the attaché case, who eventually led him back to the area around Shibuya Station. Rumi and Shizuo should be waiting at a nearby cafe right now. Kano tried to remember the name. That's right, it was called Le Truc. The name of the cafe where the college student Ryoko Kakinuma works as a waitress. Named after the 19th century French painter Henri de Toulouse-Lautrec, he created numerous works, including many posters, book illustrations, and book covers, which are highly regarded in the art world. He kept his eye out for a place by the name as he tailed the target. Before long, he did spot the cafe. Its large plate glass window offered a view of the cozy interior. The sign out front read, Le Truc. He looked like this was the place. The man with the case was at the intersection waiting for the light to change. Kano took the opportunity to peer inside. He spotted Rumi right away. She was facing away from him. The man seated across from him must be her father. Kano realized he'd never even seen a picture of him. Shizuo grew organic produce up in Nagano nowadays, but until 2 years ago he'd been a detective with the Investigation Division. MPD Investigative Division responsible for handling crimes such as murder, kidnapping, and arson that take place within Tokyo Metropolis. Truly exceptional officers are assigned to this division. They are regularly dispatched to various regional task forces to aid in investigations where their talents and experience often prove critical. The position of Section Chief is traditionally given only to dedicated personnel well versed with crime scenes and organizational administration. Rumi looked up to her father for his distinguished police career and always spoke quite highly of him. Kano had figured that if he became a policeman, Rumi might appreciate that. It was this simple impulse that led him to join the force. He had also figured that public servants could stay afloat even in times of recession, and this physical training would serve him well in such lines of work. Once he was a policeman, he thought, he could approach Shizuo with his head held high and ask for his blessing in marrying his daughter. But after Rumi graduated from university, Shizuo had up and retired from police work. Even Rumi didn't know why he'd made the decision. Kano had traveled to Nagano many times to ask Shizuo to permission to marry her, but the only response he ever got was, "I'm not giving away my daughter to any cop." Kano had never even gotten past the intercom before her father turned him away. Years on the force had nearly made Kano lose sight of what had driven him to become a policeman in the first place. And now the chance to meet Shizuo face to face had finally come. He peered intently into the cafe. Across from Rumi sat an older man with a grim expression. Just who was this hard-faced fellow? It took a lot to rattle Kano, but the guy looked scary. Could this really be the sweet little Rumi's father? The prospect of meeting with him later filled Kano with such sudden dread. The man went into the JR Shibuya station and stood before the ticket machine. It looked like he was planning on boarding a train. A scene from a popular movie about a kidnapping sprang into Kano's mind, where the crook had made off with the ransom money after it was tossed out the window of a train. What if this guy managed to get outside the dragon and pull stunt like that? Looks like the suspect is going to board a train, Kano informed Kuze over the wireless. Make sure you stay on his tail. Apparently Kuze still wanted to string the perp along for a bit. We've got the lizards ready to pursue. Japanese police lingo for motorcycle squads deployed to pursue suspects in urban settings. We'll reestablish our dragnet around whatever station he gets off at. The man purchased a ticket from the machine and passed through the gate. There's no way to tell what station he bought a ticket for, but it looked like he was heading clockwise along the Yamanote line loop. Kano used his prepaid card and made his way through the ticket gate as well. Officers do not actually get free rides on public transportation simply by flashing their badges, as is frequently depicted in TV shows and films. Doing so might risk alerting the suspect. For this reason, prepaid cards are provided ahead of time. That's smart. An announcement chime signaled the imminent arrival of a train up on the platform. The man made his way up the stairs, looking calm and composed. He showed no signs of checking for pursuers. Kano hurried after him. The man stopped at the very edge of the platform to await the train. Not ideal. There was no way for Kano to get close without sticking out like a sore thumb. The train glided up to the platform. The man gave a quick look around as he stepped aboard. Kano followed. Trains on the Yamanote line didn't stop for long, and soon they were on their way. The question is, did I stop myself from getting in the way of that cab, though, yet? Glancing around, Kano noticed other MPD investigators who had slipped aboard the train as well. Suspects stood behind the driver's compartment, staring contemplatively at the scenery outside. The man's composure only served to rattle Kano more. A man in gaudy necktie walked past Kano, talking on his cell phone. Yep, everything's going fine on this end, he said. There's no need to worry. In his other hand, he carried the same sort of attaché case as the man that they were tailing. He headed right toward the driver's compartment and stood next to the suspect. Well, now that's not suspicious. Kano leaned his head subtly, straining to make out what he could of the phone conversation on the other end of the car. Yes, of course. 225 pages, all fully proofread. 225? Article 225 of the Penal Code of Japan details kidnapping for profit and kidnapping for ransom. Accordingly, 225 is police shorthand for kidnapping. That was police jargon for kidnapping. Was this guy in cahoots with the kidnappers? Maybe the criminals had planned an attaché case swap. Kano watched the newcomer like a hawk. But rather than making contact with the suspect, the man turned around and strolled back the way he'd come. He hadn't done anything suspicious at all. Yeah, right, Understood. Kano stole a glimpse of the man's face as he passed. He stopped and looked at Kano, seemingly aware that he was being watched. Kano decided to stare him down or look away nonchalantly. Let's stare him down. Kano decided to stare him down. My apologies, the man said. He shut his phone with a click. I know it's rather rude to talk on one's cell phone when you're on a train. That's just common decency. The man affected a smile, then headed back to the car from which he'd come. Alright. Is that a bad end? No. Sheesh. Guess I overreacted. Hey, buddy. Gotta stop staring at everyone. An oddly dressed passenger murmured into Kano's ear. Blend into your surroundings more. Oh my god, is that Sasayama? Okay, that's my detective partner, who is the one that I gave the free drink to when I was the mascot. He's the cosplay detective. What the heck, dude? When did you get here? His partner had somehow found time to change his disguise. The steely expression on his face was at odds with his anime nerd getup. Missed the opportunity for an Idolmaster reference. Yeah. Kano had seen Sasayama disguise himself as plenty of things throughout the years. It's quite rare for Sasayama to actually wear a suit. On the rare occasions when he does, and he's walking the halls of his home precinct, he frequently goes unrecognized. Here are some of Sasayama's costume designs from his evidence notebook. Santa is a must for Christmas. Steak ass with a smile. We got Santa, we got the train. That's very, very silly. Okay. Chef, musician, samurai, and an astronaut, to name a few, but this is a new extreme even for him. When he first joined the force, Kano had found Sasayama's costuming antics amusing, wondering where he managed to find his outfits, but lately his quirk had become tedious. You like the ocean? Huh? Never mind. Sasayama pulled out a small bottle from his breast pocket. Yeah, see, I gave him that. Drink this while you can. Guessing you haven't eaten. Huh? What's this? Least I could do. He ended kind of the bottle and slipped away into the next compartment. He pulled an all-nighter and hadn't eaten, so he was glad to have something. He took a sip. Whatever this was, it was bland. It almost didn't taste like anything. Just what had Sasayama given him? Nah, what the heck, anything's better than nothing. He brought the bottle to his lips and chugged the contents down. He suddenly got a massive head rush. He felt a heat like a burning that spread from his insides throughout his whole body. No, that wasn't right. It was an ache. It was a ferocious ache. Did I do the wrong thing by giving him the bottle and not the other guy? A burning that spread from his insides to his fingertips. And there was pain, a numbing that spread to his insides all the way down to his toes. Burning, aching, hurting, burning, aching, hurting, burning, aching, hurting, twitchy, itchy, dizzy, sleepy, chilly, willy-nilly. This is not good. This is super duper not good. He broke into a cold sweat, his forehead drenched, his body damp and clammy all over. He felt his grip on consciousness slipping. Sasayama, what the hell did you do to me? With bleary eyes, he squinted to read the writing on the bottle. After a scan, few letters kind of blacked out. Did I really kill him by giving Sasayama the bottle and not the businessman? Amazing! That's absolutely wild that stupid decision ruined this path. Okay, well, we're going to end it off on a high note, I think. That's absolutely amazing. Absolutely fantastic. Which means that in order to get the good end here, I'm going to have to go back to Tama. The beginning of Tama's thing. And have her give the other guy the bottle, or force the other guy to take it. But if we hadn't done that, we wouldn't have gotten the fun stuff. But anyway, that's going to do it for this stream. Thank you all very much for stopping by and doing your thing and being awesome. I really appreciate it. We are going to raid. Our hashtag is going to be... yeah, thank you very much for stopping by. I appreciate it. The hashtag is going to be Deadly Diet Drink. And we are going to raid... 1 second. See if I can pull up the thingy. There we go. Yay, we're going to raid Tony. So, yeah, we're raiding with Deadly Diet Drink. Thank you all very much for stopping by, and I hope you have a good night. This is a fun game. I might stream it again sometime. But yeah, goodbye everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, I mean, we can do... Dovey, thank you for the raid. We can do Little Baby. We'll see how this one goes. This is Phasmophobia.